Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us back. Before we move ahead, I would like to take this opportunity to thank our partners, WeCommission, ValueLeaf, Microsoft, InMobi, AdPub.social, Admitad, Collect Sent Ads, Branch, Offer 18, Amar Ujala, the Indian Express, Celebite, and Nielsen. Without any further delay, let's begin the panel discussion on changing ad fraud detection landscape. Here with us are our esteemed speakers, Ms. Chanda Das, AVP International Business Strategy Collections, Ms. Archana Agarwal, VP Media Airtel, Mr. Raghav Singhal, Head Digital Marketing PhonePe, Mr. Prateek Kumar, Head E-commerce Manyavar, and Mr. Anand Pathak, Director, Marketing and Sales, NetMeds. Over to you, Ms. Das.
Hello, everyone. Good morning from Toronto. Thank you so much, Shivani. Really excited to be moderating this panel today. We have a distinguished group of thought leaders representing brands from across the spectrum, and that's what makes it even more special. As our digital spend crossed about $100 billion this past year and continues to rise, the most difficult challenges faced by programmatic and digital ad tech players today is to address the issue of ad fraud and combat it. And to set the ground for that topic, like Shivani just mentioned, changing ad fraud detection landscape, let's first know from our panelists firsthand on how dynamic the equation really here is. Anand would love to kick this off with you. We are super excited about hearing on your recent acquisition. And so I want to ask you this question from a very futuristic lens. How do you plan to drive ROI on your digital spends amidst all this flux of increasing competition? Anand. Anand, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself, please.
I'll do that. Okay. So
No problem.
yeah. So thank you, Chanda. And so see, what I see currently is happening is to answer that question in the three parts. The first part, what we are seeing is that online pharmacy in India, that we're seeing that is 5 years actually been serving. And currently we are seeing there is a consolidation phase that it's passing through. And second big important thing, we are seeing that there are larger players, they are showing interest in this vertical as of now. And third thing, to answer that maximizing the ROI, I have only two formula that I have been using so far. The first one is to, that you spend the money, make sure that, that you have the system and middleware in place to make sure that whatever your goal of advertising campaigns are, it's reaching to the right consumer. In terms of minimizing the fraud. And the second thing is to reaching out to the right consumer. And like, there is one marketeer, American marketeer, his name is Wanamaker. He told that, the 50% of the spend that we are doing, I know it's a waste, but I don't know which part of it. So, as a marketeer, that's the best part for us to find out, which part is that actually not reaching out to the right TG. So I think one of the big things that we are seeing that a lot of players are actually coming into this area, and hence you're right that the competition is going to be definitely in different level, and we are kind of very pleased that we are part of now Reliance, and we'll have a backbone to fight that competition for sure. And it's all that data that we have for 5 years, what worked, what doesn't work. And all these learnings that we have for 5 years is definitely going to help us and keep us ahead in the game.
That's so good, Anand. All the best.
Thank you.
I'm sure are going to put a very strong face forward to the competition. All the best to you. Thank you so much for shedding light on your concerted efforts to stay ahead in the game. Wishing you great luck.
Thank you.
Archana, like the rest of the industry, the telecom service provider segment globally and in India specifically is undergoing a huge transition, right? Thanks to all the emerging technology trends that we have been seeing and witnessing over the past few years. What are some of these digital disruptions that you are capitalizing upon? Archana, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself as well.
Yeah, sorry. So I'm saying that, looking at purely from an India standpoint, uh, we're looking at first evolving our own ecosystem. Like when we look at what happened, we've seen during these last couple of months a lot of traffic on our own assets to drive a lot of things. Recharges, we saw huge increase happening, right? So that obviously what we started doing that we started actually investing, redistributing our approach to get more people onto our ecosystem. And when I say our ecosystem, we're using the app as a customer service channel, higher usage of the app as a customer service channel, and making it easier for the consumer to figure out and the discovery of it, maybe having chatbots or having it in languages, for them to make the transition from call centers, because a lot of the call centers were shut, or operating on very minimal skeletal stuff, to getting people to from a human interaction to more very without a human, because a chatbot, and so we're making it as much conversational than languages, so making it easier for them to transition from a human interaction. The second is using the app as a self-care app, where we're saying that you can now do everything on the app, right? You can recharge, you can buy a new product, you can watch, you can do banking, because we also have Airtel Payments Bank. You can do banking through that. You have a payments bank, a bank or a wallet, and you can do that through UPI. And the third one is, building new products, while making the destination. So we have, like, when there was World Cup, we had content around World Cup and people would come to play. So we're moving the app from a functional app to a more enjoyable, engaging app, which we have stream app, which is on esports, or we have some amount of content available. So there's a lot of stuff that's coming from those aspects. A lot of the tech is going into building and creating all of this. I think that's important, getting the consumer journeys right for people to seamlessly navigate from one thing to another.
Archana, that was so exhaustive. I think your customer journey speaks of your presence in this nation. And going back so many years, you guys have had a very strong harnessing of all your previous experiences, and it's a great thing that you're keeping all the emerging technology trends to stay ahead in the game. Thank you so much for answering that question in so much of details. Raghav, over to you. As a leading digital payments company today, I'm assuming that a huge part of your spend is on. How are these spendings being planned across your advertising space to, strengthen your plans of acquiring the big new user base that you have committed yourself to over the next couple of years?
Okay. So I'll go by first principles. Okay, and what I mean by that is we fairly started like aggressively in 2017, when after the demonetization happened on 8 November 2016. So it's 3 years of journey, to be precisely 3.5 years of journey, which we have. And we have acquired over 200 million users, 200 million registered users, and we continue to acquire. Okay, the target is the next 300 million who are already on internet or likely to come on internet in the, let's say, 2021, 2020, 2021. So in those kind of market, I'll tell you how it works in the marketing. So obviously digital player plays a role, because of the 1.3 billion population, our target is who is any kind of a transaction digital. Okay, so the people who are on any kind of an app or any kind of a digital activity becomes a relevant audience for us and helps us segregate from the rest of the audience. So this is the first person you go after when you go after and start spending. After that, you go and convert the user who are not on digital, adopt digital, and then adopt the payments as us. So digital is always spent by design for an online payments company. Now the second point is how marketing works. So we are acquiring a large base of users every year, but when you acquire a certain base of user and you're growing at a double digits like a growth rate every month, not on a year, and the industry is not growing at the same space, we are growing faster than the industry. Okay, so what you want to do is the return on investment is a diminishing return. In other businesses like e-commerce and other lines of businesses, you get economies of scale. But in marketing, it is a economy law of diminishing return which comes into play. So having a large base of 200 million users, to find the next 100 million or the next 50 million user, you have to spend more than what you were spending. And that becomes a very key role, that where you spend, how you spend, whether you spend between people who are online versus spend a small amount of money to people who are not aware but online. So the spend is distributed between three parts. One is to make people aware and come into digital ecosystem, or start seeing adoption, which is called branding, particularly for a category adoption. After category, you want between the other players in the competition. It's a tri-party game fairly for us. Between that, for people to use us. So that is the acquisition for us. So we focus on first acquisition and then branding. And overall, it's a last win for now. And the target is not getting given. There's going to be a large spend on going basis.
That's so big a scale to aim for, Raghav. I think it's huge. 200 million users aiming to 300 million over such a short span of time. I think congratulations to you and the team for pulling this off so well, and all the best in your very strong efforts to be who you are and go higher places. Pratik, over to you. You guys have made some serious moves in the online space. And to complement that, it is only fair to assume that your online play has also become very predominant. With that strategic shift in play, what have been some game changers for you pre-COVID and post-COVID?
Hi, Chanda. Thank you. Thanks for asking us such a.
No problem.
So, if I'm talking about the Manyavar as a journey, right? So, since last almost 2 to 3 years now, right? So, Manyavar online business is actually growing by more than 250% on year basis, and that itself, I'm saying that is a pre-COVID scenario. And once this COVID thing happened in India, right, or not in India, but globally. So initially, in the month of April and like May, the things are actually shut it down, right? So things are actually not moving in India. So we have seen a hit into the online as a website, because the people were not actually be in the of buying anything apart from grocery or some medicines, right? Anand, I believe that you guys have actually made a lot of money during that time. So if I'm talking about post that, like after May, so June, July, August, and so far, like we are actually experiencing a 400 and plus jump on like-to-like basis in this financial year, right? So, which is actually showing that people were actually interacting with our website or with our online as a destination pre-COVID scenario also, but they were actually buying from one of our offline store. But that buying has actually shifted to online, right? So that makes us has given us like an extra push to our online sales. And I'm not only talking about Manyavar.com, which we do have it. Like the numbers are the same for all the destination which we do have it. The channel partners like Amazon, Myntra, even Flipkart. Right. So we have already seen a lot of jump over there. There's a lot of shift which has actually happened into the offline as a space to the online as a space, because I can say it is a very different time altogether for the brands to actually cater the need of the different level of need of their offline customers to service them online, right? Because if I'm just name some few of the things which we have actually done really well. In our terms, it was really well. I can say it because I have the one like who have actually developed it and rolled it out into the onto the website level as well as the offline stores. But we have actually gone live with the book and appointment feature in last 4 months or 5 months. So like people can actually take an appointment of any of our stores, 540 stores, which we do have it across India. And that is something which is actually giving us almost 200 to 300 plus confirmed bookings on a daily basis, right? Which is a very good number for us. And the ticket size for these book and appointment leads, whenever they are actually reaching out to the offline stores, it is always be on a higher side. At the same time, we have actually gone live with chatbot, right, which Archana was also talking about. So chatbot because once this 400% jump we have actually experienced it, that itself means that there is a lot of load which was actually coming onto a CRM, and you can't simply start adding people, right? Multiply by 2, multiply by 5. So that's why we have actually gone live with the chatbot, and the chatbot is actually getting 2,000 to 3,000 queries on a daily basis. Out of those 2,000 to 3,000 queries, 90%, 90 to 92% of the queries is actually being taken care directly by the bot itself, which is a good value proposition for us. Because earlier to that, like we used to actually take care of all the things were taken care by the two people team. Still, the two people team are there, and where they're able to actually do the wonders, right? So lots of things which we have actually changed. It. We have gone live with our app almost 3 weeks back. We are planning to actually do something in Omni. We are actually building our own in-house Omni feature or a module, which we are going to roll it out in all the stores, which we do have it pan India in next 15 to 20 days. So users, because if we are talking about the COVID, then the user are going to enter into the stores, but they might feel out that, okay, I don't want to touch this and that, right? So we are actually giving one QR code, which they can actually scan it through their mobile phones, and they will be able to see whatever the stock which we do have it, or the option we do have it into that store, right? They can actually select it and then show it to the store manager, and the store manager can actually assist him. Even we are actually taking the the payment through Paytm, UPI, whatever it is, right? So minimum touch and maximum service level, right? So these are the things which we have done in last 4-5 months down the line, and I do have a lot of a very big pipeline into the tech side, which we are actually going to roll it out in next 2-3 months or 4 months down the line.
I think Chanda, this is the time for you to unmute.
It was my turn, of course. How could I escape? How could I escape this? But Pratik, what I was saying is you missed the most important part. I was saying, Pratik, you are one of my favorite brands. If not mine, my husband's, and I'm looking forward to all the technology innovations that you guys are rolling up your sleeves into. I am going back to my family saying I talked to the man who did the book an appointment with Manyavar, a feature that we all love so much. So thank you so much for shedding light on those. Team, we are. Yeah, sure. Let's shift some gears here and some blaring statistics coming out. Right, as of September 20, Traffic Guard, Juniper, sets out the total cost of ad fraud at $34 billion, predicting it will increase to $87 billion by 2022. Most of this will be lost in the APAC region. And $1.63 billion digital ad fraud in India is going to hit close to 9% of the global total. I want to ask my esteemed panelists the next question. Panelists, how real is this challenge at hand? What are some of those tactical and those very practical things that you are incorporating as your respective sectors or as your respective brands to deal with this menace that seems to me like an ongoing arms race? Let's get started, maybe Raghav, with you.
Sure. So my take on this would be the ad fraud is real, and accepting is the first thing which we can do to honor it. Okay. So my first suggestion is to form a right attribution for whatever channels you spend on, be it online, be it offline. You try between segregating between different platforms and different channels. And after that, knowing what kind of a risk and what kind of a fraud is possible on that channels is the first thing you should be aware of. Okay, and having a single view by using any platform or developing your own internal system. But you have to fairly create one platform for a one view to know what is the ROI, what is the source you are acquiring from. Okay, and being a payment company, we are double scared of having this when you're sitting on a large base, and also when you are something which is as critical as payments, where someone's money is going to get transacted. There are two parts. There is a preventing an ad fraud, digital marketing spends and preventing an ad fraud, and the second is where the company prevent fraud. So I'll only keep my focus limited to the first part, which is digital ad fraud. So I'm not sure how many people are aware of this, but the tune of ad fraud can be as high as small as 10%, 15% to 0% maybe in some of the channels, but it can be as high as 99% in some of the channels with affiliate partners. You might not know it, and you might not even know. And trust me, being in the big company, we have worked with over 400 partners in 3 years. And we have seen partners who had like a very high frauds as well, but luckily we were proactive in accepting it, in acknowledging it, and then taking corrective measures. All the corrective measures are probabilistic in nature. uh, there's no deterministic level, but you control it to a certain degree that the most at risk is X%, the most at risk is 10-15%. So that's what you can do. And talk about our platform when you're spending such large amount of this thing, understanding what kind of frauds are there. One is a bot, which is creating fake registrations, fake transactions in the marketing world, and the second is hijacking the organic one. So these are the two broad categories. What we did is I actually spent hours on a weekly basis with the CTO of an ad company who was developing an ad fraud tool back in 2015, and this was our process to almost a year. So we almost did like my entire team almost PhD, and at the time, asking, and I did not used to meet the salesperson or a CEO. I used to meet the CTO to understand how, what, why. We kept ourselves updated with what are the policy changes, what are the best. Is there a interest in the people who are selling the ad for too? If they are the same people who are marketing it as well. So those kind of things we have. So we did two things: one is external traffic and external hands-on tools, and one is our internal system which we built. Okay, and in internal systems, let's say if you're paying on certain categories, so let's say some people spend on install, some people spend on registration, some people spend on our phone versus some people pay on transactions. So we need to be very sure that sometimes you work in an environment you're in hyper growth state. So there's a lot of motivation for a fraudster to give you fake events or fake transactions or go to those innocent users who will do anything for 10 rupees, 50 rupees, but these are not the users who type on a stick. So measuring those ratios, those LTVs by channel is the first thing which you can do. Second thing, you can measure the conversion ratios. The conversion ratios are very different for organic versus non-organic channels. So those are criteria. Beyond those things, what we did is we tried to create an event internally which cannot be faked. Okay, so like for us, we are in an advantage position that bank linkage is something which of a bank has gone from the original bank account number which is KYC done, like phone. So that cannot be faked to large extent. So what profit gets prevented over there? So we try to pay for user or pay for partner kind of a metric where they cannot do a fraud. If they are doing some fraud on installs, they will not get paid for those installs because they are will not be lead to actual bank linkage. Okay, so these are the things you need to identify with your own industry. If a lot of people think OTP I have done, it's a non-preventive fraud, I can get in less than 2 minutes. So any advanced fraudster, and trust me, there are hundreds of smart fraudsters sitting out engineers and students who are 18 to 19 years old who are ready to game you over there. Okay, and OTP and all those things are not the the criteria to prevent fraud. Like you can like there are systems like Droid, BlueStack, the OTP generators where you can get lakhs of OTP by just with the actual phone numbers as well. So finding this thing, measuring, triangulating it with conversion ratio. More or less now, the good part is industry has already started acknowledging it. The top players are already like working towards and is actively spending ad fraud. Obviously, the people who are doing fraud have more motivation because you preventing will get your own salary, but the person who is doing it will get 10 times return. Is the budget of hundreds of crores? Even to a 10% is tens of crores, $1 million a month, kind of that thing. You have to be very deep. My advice to all the people who are like starting up or which is to spend equal effort in the to work on an ad fraud platform. You might be spending your entire inventory, your own inventory or your own traffic is getting hijacked. So some of the things which like obviously using multiple tools who are aggressively and extensively working in this segment, and we are trying to control each partner's spends at different levels. And I wish there's a more scope for industry to collaborate on a bigger level. Like there's no laws, so there's a side of doing a let's say a value that is did not want, but there's no side against digital ad fraud. There's no legal penalty if you're doing an ad fraud. So maybe all IMI keep a lead over here, collect all the industries and all the say of it to prevent these publishers or fraudsters in between from trying to game the ecosystem and just activate fraud which is so that's the first thing we can look at. Secondly, sharing of some common data like blacklisting the common IP through one fraud or blacklisting as that we like when the partner or when the publisher they all have an intent not to do fraud. Demotivating and motivating a correct user also becomes very important. We create firewalls, we create groups, we create a top of it that people do not do fraud. So always gonna be a game where some people are motivated, people are demotivated. We need to create a firewall.
That is one of the most exhaustive answers I've heard. Raghav, you gave us such a good individualistic combined with an organizational combined with an industry combined with a legal lens of looking at this problem, and I think you dealt with that so well. I loved the opening statement where you said the first and the foremost thing we should do, actually the easiest thing at this time to do, is to be aware that this problem is real. Thank you for that, Raghav. Anand, over to you. What are your thoughts on the same question?
Right. So my role, being into sales and marketing both sides, right? So we have to fight the both side of the game. So I have one example from the both side. So first time ever in my life, I went to NCLT court to fight this ad fraud. So like Raghav was saying, there was no legal ground for this to fight. So what happened is, that since we were spending higher, and this is way back in somewhere in 2017 time, when we found that there is a fraud happening, and that duration of like 3-4 months, we found that it was the fraud kind of amount of the total budget was somewhere around 10 to 15%. So what happened is that we made it sure that we are not going to pay this, because we found that, because we had a middleware fraud detection tool and all this, so we could find that there are frauds happening and we are not supposed to pay this. So some of the bills were already paid and some of them were not. So what happened is then we started talking to all the vendors, said, look at these reports, they are not genuine, these are not exactly that we wanted. So then they started readjusting in the billing in the coming months, and the people that we have not paid, they started negotiating, and then we never came across to any the meeting point. And it went for several months. Then finally, one of our vendor actually pulled us to NCLT. I said, okay, we are ready to fight. And I don't have to fight because I'm not from legal background, but it was a completely a tech kind of deal. And my legal advisors were not so through with the tech. They're from the different world. So you have to have the hand holding. So we tried to explain everything, and I was standing beside my attorney in the NCLT. And that was my first ever experience, how the court dealing happens. And finally, in due course of time, we won the case, and we saved almost like around 40 lakh rupees, Indian rupees, with that case. So, these are the genuine case. And, most of the times what happens, the brands try to spend money, but then you have to have prevention actually, right? Because if you're spending real money, and there are the fraudsters who are going to spoil your money not for the real purpose, right? So this is from the ad side. Now, coming from the sale point of view, we are into the e-commerce, and we see a lot of gaming happens for the kind of offer that we provide to our consumer, right? So the real consumers are the real, they come and they get it, and that's right. But what we see, they're like a kind of gangs around the different states located across the nation. And what happened one fine day in the morning, that we started seeing, the number of orders in the morning started flooding. Average transaction size started dropping. And it was like flooded every single minute. We were flooded with the orders. And ATV was slightly dropping. So we started looking into what's the issue. And then we found that, all these orders are coming for 50 rupees. Just 50 rupees. And they all are not COD, they are prepaid. I said, okay, so who will take that much effort to, spend, pay 50 rupees as a prepaid order? Then we found that they're not actually paying for it. So what happens is we had a kind of new customer acquisition program where you register and then you get 50 rupees in your Netmeds wallet, which you can use for your purchase. Now imagine these guys, they were just using that 50 rupees, they were buying around 15 or 25 rupees worth of product and shipping charges added to that, and order were completed. We found that and immediately we have to plug out that. Because and we don't know, that program was running for almost more than a quarter, and we didn't see that, all that day in the morning we saw orders started flooding. So then, it's like, every day it's not about acceptance, whether you accept or not accept, you'll be slapped, you'll be hammered. Every time you see different kind of patterns in terms of the fraud. So, as the industry body, IMI, like, even the Raghav said, I think that there is a huge industry, and India is a growing market. Every brand is spending hell amount of money. I think there has to be ownership on all this. As per the forum, as per the affiliate summit that we are currently organizing, there has to be a kind of accountability. But yeah, it's a self-policing. All this will not going to work in the long run. But I think as an industry, as an organization, there has to be some sort of channelization on all this, so that the money that you're spending is going to right direction and it's going for the company. And once you are having the company growth, you are creating the employment, and then you are contributing to the GDP or the national growth, right? But this is going to be part of the life, and we accept it, and it is there. And every day, we find something new coming out here.
That's true. I think, Anand, the way you say it, I kind of emphasizes the how dynamic this entire ecosystem in itself is, a never-changing landscape, right?
Yeah.
I think not only the impersonal nature of transactions, not only a very complex and a very opaque supply chain, but also the reliance that we have on very easily fiddled metrics in the industry with no such legal backing is making it a huge challenge, like you rightly pointed out.
Chanda, so what happened? We went to the root of finding, what exactly that day, created this havoc. And we found that there one guy, YouTube influencer, he created one video called "How to Get Free Product at Netmeds," and that product has 100,000 views. And he made like a very lengthy video, like 20 minutes, every single step, like, right from downloading to registration to selecting, adding to the cart, and how you get the SMS, then 50 rupees NMS Netmeds cash, and then you actually place the order. So then we found, like, okay, this guy is actually the source of this entire scam here coming.
And the problem is real, yes.
Yes.
Right, Anand. Thank you. Thanks for those inputs. Archana, your thoughts on this issue?
So, I'm not going to get into what we are doing at Airtel, but I just actually wanted to what Raghav and Anand mentioned, the fact that it's industry-wide. But I want to take it one step forward. I want to say that it's not only industry level ad fraud needs to be identified, and also needs to be driven by advertisers. We are the ones who are affected the most when fraud happens, because we are paying for it, right? And hence we need to push. There were, large FMCGs at one point of time pushed for brand safe content, and the big players did take it up. So how can we as a whole group come together and push and demand the fact that, we want ad fraud to be negated completely from? I'm sure it may not be negated completely, but how can we push for that? I have some thoughts on the fact that, we also look for the lowest cost, right? I want the lowest cost for acquisition, the lowest cost per install. That means all the tech tools that are available are looking at trying to commoditize the inventory into one, everything is commoditized, right? At the lowest cost denominator. Are we also willing to pay a premium for guaranteed traffic? That's another question, because that's going to increase our costs, right? But today we don't know we're getting. So today we are already paying a premium. Does it not make more sense to pay that premium to actually get guaranteed traffic, right? Because today my cost, when I get a impression on, say, an established news site, I'm just giving an example, right? Versus it being an unknown blog or some unknown long tail channel, right? I'm giving the same value to an established platform versus what I'm giving to an unestablished platform, and I'm seeing the impression is the cost of the impression is the same, but actually it may not be true. Today we believe all low cost is equal, but it may not be that low cost equals quality or low cost is the same. How are we I think we don't have enough tools, and maybe there's also a need for tools to be developed where we can identify within the same platforms which is the inventory which is guaranteed versus not guaranteed. And tools like programmatic and all are we looking at is doing audience buying, saying, oh, I want to reach all women in this audience. Now it doesn't matter where I reach those women, but for certain brands it's important in terms of the environment, and maybe the value that I get from a particular a platform is far important from a lifetime value versus I get from another platform, right? Today I'm not very few brands look at the lifetime value of when I get an acquisition, what is the lifetime value of that. A lot of performance growth marketing kind of team that through the whole ecosystem. So I think that is one. I think Raghav talked about this whole penalizing. Are we willing to penalize and saying I will not advertise, or I will block this particular platform if they're not going to be able to give me brand sale? There was some conversation about saying that there are platforms whose intention is not to create fraud, right? But they are also maybe challenged because they may not have the tools, or they're dependent on other people, and the people over there are the ones who are saying that the more impressions I give or the more clicks I give, the more I earn, right? And that's how we are incentivizing. So there is no incentive for people to create guaranteed traffic, because it's about, if I need to earn 100 rupees, I need to give this. Now if I'm not able to get that much guaranteed traffic, might as well give some bot traffic. So I think that was the other challenge I felt. Maybe one of the measures that I was thinking through was that there are tools which are available. Can we push the industry to saying that your platforms need to be verified by those tools, right? And those tools need to be integrated within your platforms for advertisers to advertise. At the same time, advertisers not wanting to spend that money to have those tools in our campaigns, right? We are saying, oh, that's an extra cost. But is that extra cost worthwhile? I think that awareness is it. Awareness of ad fraud is one thing, but awareness of saying that I'm willing to pay that extra premium to be able to detect is the bigger awareness that needs to be driven by the industry. Is what I think.
That is so thought-provoking and very different from what we discussed, Archana. But you bring in some really some strong aspects of putting an industry thought and industry's concerted thought into this direction, right? The lifetime value that you speak about, or are we incentivizing people just to send traffic that is not real, versus incentivizing true traffic? The right human traffic is something that a consideration that has to be given to. Wonderful. Thank you so much for those thoughts, Archana. That was a very strong, socially motivated lens of looking at this changing ecosystem. Pratik, you are in lines with Archana and the rest of the team. Anything drastically different that your brand or your industry is doing?
I think my industry is not actually quite different with what others are doing it, because at the end of the day, you are actually reaching out to your customers. Customer who's actually using Airtel and then doing the payment through PhonePe in my own stores, right, or on my own website, right? So the customer is same. I think I really like the point of Archana, right, because low cost is always be a carrot, right, for the brand managers, which is actually showing by the different publishers and all. My simple point is, like, you can actually, even if you're not actually having a lots of filters and lots of checks and balances at your end, even if you are going to check your analytics account, right, whatever the analytics tool which you're using it, there are some kind of a fluctuation which is actually going to be very visible over there itself. You can actually point it out. Okay, this is not possible. I'm giving an example. If your website conversion rate is, let's take example 2%, and there is a one source who's actually giving you a 10% conversion rate, right? That is not possible. That means that, okay, that publisher or that source is actually doing something wrong, right? Which you actually need to point it out. Whether he is actually starting targeting your own keywords in the middle of the night and giving you 10 orders or 500 orders, right? But that is also a fraud. Apart from that, like I can say, like for apparel as an industry, I think that is not. I can say for the brand point of view, we do deliver something, right? So if somebody is actually buying a kurta from me or a sherwani, end of the day, I'm going to actually deliver that stuff to the customer's place. So I usually don't pay, not usually, but in any case, like I don't pay to any of my publisher if that order is not get delivered. That means my whole cycle get completed once that product is going to get delivered to the doorstep of my customer. So that fraud thing is not going to be happened by that time. Whatever Anand was actually talking about, it was in the live scenario because that has I have also experienced it. In the past during my tenure with Aditya Birla, we were also giving certain points, right? And we were not restricting people that whenever somebody was actually buying something on our website, we were crediting those points into their account. Then one guy, one Gurgaon based guy, I can say. So that guy, what he has done, like he has actually placed a 150 or 200 orders in one night on our website. And that value credits has actually been credited into his account. And we have actually allowed him to buy one order. So he has actually placed 150 orders. Out of the 150, he was supposed to actually reject 149 orders, right? Only one order was supposed to actually get delivered at his doorstep, and all the orders were COD. So that's why we have actually done certain changes at our backend. Okay, we should not actually do it in this way. We need to actually wait till the order good will get delivered, then only the points will get credited. So, and my point is like, if you do have a very specific thing, right? Because I can say the big players, not in terms of the value, but in terms of whosoever has actually or already, what you can say, like use the Google, Facebook, or what are the known ethical, I can say, not the ethical is or can be a wrong word, but those known platforms which is known for not doing a fraud. Once you are actually reaching out to that level, then only you are going to actually reach it out to the publisher side. Okay, can you actually give me some kind of a impression based buying, some kind of a clicks and all? If it is a click is a very, I can say, like a very low cost thing which can be available anytime, even at a cost of 5 paisa also. Right now, you have to decide on the basis of your desired result. You need to decide whether that should be a 5 paisa or even a 1 rupee or 5 rupee. Even a 5 rupee is actually better than a 1 rupee or even a 50 paisa because, like Archana said or Raghav was also saying, right? If you're getting more, your lifetime value of those customers are actually higher than the customer who are actually acquiring at a 1 rupee cost. It makes more sense for you to actually run the ads and keep on spending money on those channels.
Absolutely. I think Pratik rightly said, you touched upon the key pointers from all other panelists. It has to be a very strongly maneuvered effort in this direction, knowing that no organization is going to be spared from ad fraud, right? Only the quantum of impact is going to vary. And whether it is the laws of diminishing returns or whether it is the more legal structure that needs to be emphasized more strongly, I think it's a more dedicated effort from everybody together, to create awareness around this problem at hand. This is wonderful. I think we have some time left for a very for something that I want to do interestingly with all of you. I want to ask my concluding question to you, like a 30-second rapid fire. And if everybody is going for it, my question is, keeping everything in mind, keeping all the discussions we had in the last 40 minutes with us, do you think that the problem will continue to get worse, or will there be, as some have speculated and we all hope, an improvement? Let's take this first with Archana, Pratik, Anand, and then Raghav. Archana.
To increase. It's only going to get more sophisticated. The people who are doing fraud are just going to get more sophisticated tools to do more, increase the kind of fraud, right? And I don't think we're keeping pace with those kind of technologies to be able to identify. There will be some frauds which you can identify. So as Pratik mentioned, I have a similar example of where we had fraud through micro influencers, right? They realized there was tweeting, say a whole set among themselves or tweeting among themselves to increase the number of tweets. We kind of blocked them, right? Now that's also, that's also fraud. But those are things which you can identify. How do you identify the ones which are very sophisticated? And that's where we need many more tools. And that's the reason I feel that's really going to increase. Sorry.
Wonderfully wrapped answer. Thank you, Archana. Pratik?
I think according to me, the things are going to be sorted out in next 1 to 2 years down the line. I think maybe possible right now it is at their peak. But as we said that, okay, whenever, even like I've already seen that article which you were talking about in India, right, related to the ad fraud numbers and all. I believe that has actually been spread it out in some other way and certain ways and all. I believe after that, almost like 10% of the marketers would have actually asked the same question to their agencies or to their publisher, by saying that, okay, whether we are getting the genuine traffic or a genuine lead or a genuine customer on our website or not. I think it is going to take some time, but after 2 years, it will go coming down because more people are going to aware of it. Because we can say like still the market was not so mature and the company's whole infrastructure was not so mature, which over the period of time has already been evolved. And in next 1 year, 2 years, it will going to be coming at the level of where those things are going to start coming down. But as of now, it is an issue. But in future, I believe it will next 1 year or 2 years down the line, it will come down.
Perfect. Archana, Pratik, they both said it's still an issue. It's going to change. Anand and Raghav, anything in 5 seconds? Let's see who wins this race.
Yes, me. So you see what happens, Chanda, now is because of the pandemic, what we see currently, the paradigm shift in the Indian ecosystem, that, COVID-19 has taught a lot of businesses that you cannot be offline. I mean, Pratik will second that, right? So now what we are seeing that a lot of traditional companies are actually moving online, right? And I think what I see that, these people from, I'm not offending anybody, they are as good in the business as anybody, but the shift is happening from offline to online, and that's where it's a new shift for them to understand the gimmick of this and what kind of, so they are like kind of more vulnerable to this kind of fraud, whether they will be, agency won't teach them, this kind of fraud happens, or it will be all the quantitative based billing will happen. So the evolved brands will be safeguarded, the new entrants will be having the challenges to learn and then try to save themselves.
And change. Wonderful. Raghav, a yes or a no? Nobody give me a definitive yes or a no.
So I'll put it, I may not be able to give you a yes or no, but I will tell you the process. So it's going to be a run and chase game. So people who are doing fraud going to run faster and faster and try to hack more and more. At the same time, people who are chasing will try to create firewalls. Okay, you can take an example of .com or the Microsoft and all, where they used to build and their firewall or antivirus was stopping them. So similarly, ad fraud protective tools has the job to like make it more and more difficult for a fraudster to fraud. Google, Facebook, whatever other channels together needs to work and prevent as much fraud as they can. At the same time, fraudsters are highly motivated to create more and more, find the loopholes of the technology and use them in their favor to create more and more fraud. Now the onus, like whether you will reduce, so it's likely to get reduced because the effort has been not every player will be able to do the fraud. Okay, only sophisticated large players who have like a technology to overcome those barriers which we have created as a firewall will be able to come. But at the same time, the market is growing at a very large speed. Lots and lots of companies are coming online, and these companies do not know. The onus comes on to make people aware and to make people use those tools and be aware of fraud. Whether if you are able to do a good job of making people aware, I think it's going to reduce. If you're not able to do the job of people accepting there's a fraud and do the corrective measures, it's going to increase. For the new players, it's important for the new players. I think existing players have already acknowledged it. The new players, new Abhimanyus of the marketing who are coming in, and these are the bright people who are coming in. We need to educate them that when you run your startup, when you start your marketing charter, you create some kind of an effort on and like a concentrated efforts at the time of inception itself against fraud protection.
Fantastic, Raghav. Thank you so much. Awareness is key, gentlemen. Shivani, I did not go directly to the questions because while the speakers were speaking, I realized that we were covering most of the answers in those. There is one particular question on whether the recent global developments by Apple and Google will restrict some of our legitimate tracking. This is an answer that I will like to email to the audience and as an answer, because this will need some real important statistical references to the answer. So other than that, I think we have answered pretty much most of the audience questions. Over to you, Shivani.
Thank you, Ms. Das. Thank you to all our esteemed panelists for such an insightful conversation. Thank you to a wonderful audience as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Shivani.